Yes, guys. Welcome back to another Teams Like Brighton episode. And I told you guys, I told you it was going to happen. I told you we'll perform well, and I told you we didn't get the 3 points. That fixture is cursed, people. It is cursed. I don't mind the fact that Sanchez made a mistake because, to be honest, the amount he gives in the season outweighs the mistakes that he makes. And I know I've been critical about him in the past, but I don't really think it's his fault overall. It was just so frustrating when McAllister had a hat trick of chances, didn't take them, and he wasn't the only one either. There were so many good chances that we had to end this game inside the first 20, 30 minutes. It was just so frustrating. But I did like the fact that Veltman went on record to say about how the atmosphere in the dressing room was like a funeral, and De Zerbi just lightened up the mood. He's the motivation that man has is fantastic, which bodes really well because we're moving very quickly. Richie has a train to catch to go to the press conference. We'll go straight in. Let's talk Fulham. Richie, what are your thoughts ahead of the match?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one because it's almost like who is the best of the rest in terms of, I guess Brighton could be part of the so-called Big Six. And obviously Fulham are behind them on goal difference. Brighton have 2 games in hand, but yeah, 35 points each. Fulham did beat Brighton at the start of the season. I was pretty impressed by the Cottagers back then. There was they got on. They didn't really sort of give Brighton like a second to breathe. They were just on them straight away, and Brighton didn't really get out of third gear. And Fulham have shown that it's not like a fluke or anything. I mean, they've been fantastic. The likes of obviously Mitrovic has finally come good, it seems, in the Premier League. But they've also made some really good sort of astute signings in, I think, like Pereira and Willian, and their defence, which I think some people might turn their nose up at. Tim Ream at 35 or so is in the form of his life. And Marco Silva's doing a fantastic job. So it should be an interesting one. I think Brighton, if they want to push on to Europe, they have to win this type of game. This could be a really, really tense, tough game, but I think they should win it. Interestingly enough, I was checking the sort of expected points and goals for the season, and Fulham actually are overperforming at the moment. Interestingly enough, they're on obviously 35 points, but their sort of expected points from the amount of chances and the quality of chances they've created would actually put them on 26 points. So they're massively overperforming. So sometimes these things do balance out at the end of the season. So if you're being much more clinical, then over time that might kind of middle up. But at the moment, they're doing a fantastic job. They are very difficult to beat. They don't really get thrashed by anyone. So I think it should be an intriguing encounter, and it could really go either way.
Yeah, it really could. It really could. It's just amazing the fact that if I told you this time last year, Brighton and Fulham would be fighting for a European spot this season, I think a lot of people will be questioning me and asking me if I'm all right. It's a bizarre situation that we're in, and like you say, it really is a must-win game. Fulham have got the bragging rights at the moment in one of Potter's last matches, but fortunately for us, we've now got home advantage. Hopefully that plays some part in this because it is going to be a tough match. It'll be interesting to see how De Zerbi sets himself up and how Marco Silva responds, if he can, that is. But the frustration that we have is Mitrovic loves playing us. He loves the game against us and he loves scoring a goal against us. So
he was brilliant down at Craven Cottage. He absolutely manhandled Webster and Dunk, who are, not exactly, pipsqueaks. They are big lads, and it was like he gave them a noogie the whole match. He was just, ragdolling them.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was the same in the Championship as well. And even when the last time they were in the Premier League, I recall him bullying us at Craven Cottage as well. So he just seems to have this instinct that he knows how to deal with Lewis Dunk, Adam Webster, and Veltman. So it'll be interesting to see if De Zerbi has an answer to it, whether that's maybe dropping Caicedo and McAllister down, just man marking him in the attack when we defend, or if Lewis Dunk managed to actually find a way to get Mitrovic in his back pocket. But I'm struggling to see how we can quieten him down because he's on fire. He's the striker that every Football Manager player sees and is the player that a lot of Newcastle fans wish they had. So it will be interesting to see how that happens. I think that's going to be a key battle for us. And obviously, the main thing is for us is winning in the midfield because we've got to control the midfield in order for our passing game to work. So there are so many interesting factors to play into this. I think it's going to be a really close end-to-end game. To be honest, I'm not even sure I could give a score prediction at this point.
Yeah, it's they're two very evenly matched teams. I think, correct if I'm wrong, but it seems that sort of De Zerbi's sort of mindset is the best form of defense is attack. I can't really recall a time when, Brighton, even under Potter, really had like a specific strategy to stop one player. It was more just let's implement, try to implement our own game style and impose it on the opposition. So, but again, as I go back to it, they're not exactly a one-trick pony. They're doing really, really well this year. I mean, they've got also, I think, Marco Silva deserves credit because there's players like Cordoba-Reid who, personally, I thought he was, because Fulham obviously were like a yo-yo team for a while, and he was sort of part of that team. And I thought he was, a solid, competent player, but I actually think he's come on leaps and bounds. Pereira, who I thought was a bit of dead wood at Manchester United, but he's been fantastic for Fulham. He was pretty dangerous down at the Cottage earlier this season. And then João Palhinha in midfield, he's added a few goals, but he's also he's a bit of a powerhouse and a rock in that midfield and really makes them tick. They're doing sort of not too dissimilar from Brighton in the sense that they're really sharing out the goals. So obviously Mitrovic, I think, has got 11 goals in the league, but then Cordoba-Reid, Pereira, Willian, Palhinha, I think Reid as well. They've got like sort of 3 and 2. So they're doing a Brighton in spreading out the goals. So I think this should be a good tactical battle because both teams like to play on the front foot. And yeah, I think Brighton can nick it, but as I say, it could go either way. And I think team selection will be key.
Yeah. For us, who do you think should start up top?
I would still. I was going to say one thing there. There was no.
Tough one.
I'd still give Undav one more go. I think.
Ooh,
I think play the long game, but yeah, if it's not working, maybe hook him off after 55 minutes or so, and bring on Ferguson. I think I don't know. Obviously, I was away at the weekend, so I didn't actually watch the game. So, did Ferguson have much of an impact when he came off the bench against Palace?
Difficult to really say. It was just so frustrating to watch. There were a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities. Ferguson did offer something else that Undav didn't, but whether or not he had an impact on the game, we still drew, really. So he was still chasing the game. We just didn't get it. So I wouldn't say he did a lot, but I mean, he tried his hardest. Don't get me wrong. He did contribute in ways that De Zerbi would approve of. It's just that there was just no end product to what he was trying to do. Once again against Palace, so which kind of just suits the typical theme in that fixture where we try things, we push and push and push, and we might sneak a draw if we're chasing the game, or we drop points when we're controlling it. It's just that never-ending circle at the moment with us. So it'll be interesting to see how we do come March midweek on a strike day. How we do against at Palace at home. Hopefully we can end the curse, but really, and I can't see Ferguson starting. I feel this bone bruising injury is something that De Zerbi's being very, very cautious of. So I do see Undav starting, maybe with Welbeck.
Welbeck's injured for a couple of weeks. Just saying.
Forgot about that. Yeah. As soon as I said it, I realised. Thank you for correcting me. So I think Undav will probably start then. I don't think De Zerbi will risk Ferguson starting unless something happens in training and he's just a league above Undav in terms of impressing him in training. So I do think I'm going to stick to my guns as well and just probably just say stick with Undav. He needs a run of games to really get the rhythm of things, and then hopefully he might set the world alight. But it's a classic tough one. I'm kind of like, I'm sure De Zerbi's probably got something in his mind, but I'm pretty sure he's going to have a bit of a selection headache there because he hasn't got many options now.
Yes, and yeah, obviously later today I'll be heading off. Like this morning, I'll be heading off to the press conferences, so it'll be interesting to see what the team news is. Before there's one thing I want to finish on before we wrap up. But so, Tom, what's your prediction going to be for this game?
I said I don't know what I could do for prediction, but my head says a draw, my heart says a win, so I'm going to go 2-1.
Nice.
2-1
I'm going to go. I think it will be. I'm going to also go 2-1. I think Matoma maybe might be the difference this time.
He's hoping.
But one thing I quickly want to add was some people might have seen that Paul Barber went on the JP&T, the Football Friendly podcast, and he spoke about a range of different topics. So go give that a listen because it's very interesting. But one quick thing to sign up before we sign off is he was asked about if he could see Alexis McAllister, Moises Caicedo, and European football at Brighton next season. And he said, I can see myself having a busy summer, if I'm honest. It's almost a double-edged sword because the better we finish in the second half of the season and the better those players perform you mentioned, the harder summer we are going to have. And we know that we have to be realistic about that. But we've already started the process making sure that if we do lose some of our best players, then we have got the replacements in to move on again. So, yeah, I guess Brighton are already succession planning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was always been the case since probably since the summer, and probably definitely and almost certainly during the World Cup and January transfer window. It's just the plan that we've got in place. We have plans A, B, C, D all the way through to Z. So it's just that I think it's no secret the fact that we probably are planning to have next season without McAllister and without Caicedo. Probably
does that make you sad? That sort of the concept of these best players stay for a bit and then they move on.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but I think that's just sadly that's what happens in football and with, I'm going to say it, teams like Brighton. So we've just got to accept it. I mean, McAllister can play for Champions League football. Caicedo could play Champions League football. When that comes knocking on your door, you can't really stop them because we can't guarantee that. We can't say to them, no, we're going to push for Champions League next season. They're going to be like, don't think we are. Because if you think what was going to happen next season, Chelsea have the reset button, Liverpool have the reset button, Spurs are going to be up in that mix. And, there's no doubt going to be one or maybe two other teams that are going to be dark horses next season that aren't us. So there are so many different factors and variables in this. We've just got to just enjoy it as it is and just hopefully they push on for Europe. McAllister's been professional throughout the January transfer window. Caicedo's agents haven't painted Caicedo in a great light, but I think it's fair that everyone, 90% of the Brighton fan base, expects McAllister and Caicedo to go. We would love to keep at least one of them. I think it's very wishful thinking to keep both because they're just such quality players, and bigger and better opportunities come in this career. And it's a very short career as a professional footballer. You want to make the most of it. We've got a World Cup winner, for God's sake, who played a very big part in Argentina's World Cup win. He wasn't like some fringe player. He was playing more or less every single game. So that people will know that in the world of football, and people think we need someone like him in our midfield. The same with Caicedo. We need something like that in there. So sadly, it's just one of those things in football.
Yeah. And I guess, touch wood, if Brighton qualify for Europe, then they can attract a better crop of players, and that will be, hopefully we'll move on. But yes, so let's wrap up there, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll be doing another Teams Like Brighton episode on Monday after the Fulham game, when hopefully Brighton pick up 3 points. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and take care.